All right, people, we got a couple things to talk about. First of all, Paxos makes a 300 trillion crypto mistake, which they rolled back immediately, but it did confuse a lot of people, and I think it's kind of hilarious, so we'll talk about it. 300 trillion, folks, more money than the entire world. But we also got to talk about this trade war that's we've really been in for months, but now it's a new one because it's more 100% tariffs, and China is not giving up anytime soon. Obviously, a couple of days ago he tweeted it'll all be right. China just had a bad day. Today he's like, we are in a trade war, which we've been in for a long time, but now it's a new one. And how I think this and the government shutdown that's been going on for about 2 weeks now is starting to impact crypto because obviously we did go down today. And even though we are holding decently well right now at 110, I believe that in another week or so, if the government doesn't open up, and this trade war stuff keeps going on, it's going to really start to affect the economy and make all the markets start to slowly go down. It won't be a extremely precipitous drop off, but it'll be like a slow melt down because these services are really going to start to affect things. And more than that, inflation and other economic factors are going to pile up, even though we don't really see stats for them. People's sentiment is going to get really, really bad as we approach that 1 month mark for the shutdown. But let's actually get on with the news and how Paxos makes a $300 trillion fat finger mistake. And people were going crazy over this until they sent it all to a burn address. So crypto users were, this is from Cointelegraph, crypto users were left scrambling on Wednesday after Paxos minted 300 trillion of PayPal's PYUSD. So that market cap of PYUSD must have been number one for about 2 minutes before they sent it to a burn address. Because 300 trillion, that's more money than the entire world is worth. With that much money, you could actually buy planet Earth. So blockchain data showed stablecoin issuer Paxos both minted and burned 300 trillion, not million, not billion, but trillion tokens of PayPal's USD stablecoin within 30 minutes. Remember, this is pegged 1-to-1. Obviously, it would have gone to like 0.001 cents had they not burned it, because there is no way that PayPal can back up $300 trillion, obviously. In a Wednesday X post following the mint and burn, Chaos Labs founder Omer Goldberg said AVE would be permanently freezing trades for PayPal USD, which they minted 300 trillion of, after an unexpected high magnitude transaction of $300 trillion, of course, of minting and burning the stablecoin. Ethereum blockchain data showed Paxos minting 300 trillion of the US dollar peg stablecoin at 7:12 p.m. UTC and then burning the entire amount 22 minutes later by sending it to an inaccessible wallet. So basically, we could have had a Terra Luna situation on our hands, and definitely trades were actually being frozen, so it causes crypto chaos with a $300 trillion mistake. I mean, obviously, this is not really anything. I think it just scared a lot of people, and it made like a lot of people have jitters because like some of their trades were frozen, and they saw the market cap go up to 300 trillion. And I think everyone would be freaked out by that, but not a big deal because they did actually burn it. Hopefully no one lost much money on this. Look at this giant red candle. I mean, this is only 0.996, but had they not actually burned it, it would have went straight down to zero. So 300 trillion is more than twice the gross domestic product for every country on Earth, according to data from the IMF. And of course, this is the biggest crypto burn in history of $300 trillion, even if it is a stablecoin. So big scare, but no big deal. Now, Trump today did actually announce that we are in a trade war with China. Now, technically, we've been in a trade war since basically April with everyone. But this is new because China obviously decided to hit back with the rare earths thing, and that prompted Trump to hit another 100% tariffs on China, which obviously is going to make this price of many goods actually go up. Now they've escalated it with China not buying American soybeans anymore, and Trump said the U.S. may not actually buy Chinese cooking oil or something like that. It's like weird products. I think they're going to go back and forth for a while. Like Trump on Friday after this was declared said like, hey, China's going to be okay. They just had a bad day. But now he's like, we're in a trade war after China says they're not backing down. Hopefully they'll meet again towards the end of the month or sometime at the end of the month before this trade war actually kicks in. Because if it kicks in, it's definitely going to really make things very interesting. And added that the government's still shut down, so Jerome Powell doesn't really have any data. For now, I definitely think he's going to cut rates. I definitely think he's going to cut rates once, probably like the day after tomorrow, because like he has to go off the older set of data, and plus like even with oil coming down, inflation shouldn't be too bad, and the jobs market is definitely tightening. I think he can tell even without the BLS data. But this overall, like this government shutdown, at least for the minute, could actually work in our favor. I think in the long term, if we don't open up in a couple more weeks, we will definitely be seeing a shift in consumer sentiment as people get really afraid. But right now, I think it's going to make fears of worldwide recession a little bit bigger, and I definitely think it's going to make growth projections smaller than they were before. You can see oil being below $60 because of this. And I think that's going to reflect in the rest of the world as well. So that actually might cool down inflation because it might actually cool down demand by just keeping everything shut down and firing a bunch of people and not having as much money, people being more afraid. Eventually, that sentiment's going to be very bad for the market. But for right now, it actually may get the Fed to cut rates even more. So it could honestly start working in our favor, at least for a couple of weeks. And of course, like this all comes together. The trade war with China, also in the short term, might be beneficial to the crypto market because they know that's going to slow down the world economy even more. That's going to lead to more firings, more people being unemployed, slower growth for both sides of the Pacific. And of course, that's going to lead to the labor market being even weaker, people being able to afford less stuff, and that will actually help inflation come down. So you have growth slowing down, inflation coming down because of these external factors that are horrible in the long term, but pretty good in the short term, and that might get Jerome Powell to cut rates, maybe even 75 basis points this year. Maybe that's the whole plan. I don't think so. It's kind of a weird plan. It could go miserably wrong if one thing actually falls apart. But I actually think like I project it holding for a while. But if this doesn't get resolved within a week or two, I think it's going to be another hit. And we don't really know, being Trump, we don't really know if he's going to do something else crazy. So I would definitely hold your buys for right now. It's going to be a very volatile time period, obviously. And I think like people's sentiment will actually get more negative as like 100% tariffs drag on. But of course, we know that they're meeting before the end of the month. And since they are indeed meeting before the end of the month, hopefully a deal can be reached. Because if a deal is not reached, then the price of a lot of goods is actually going to go up. We're seeing some consumer prices actually go up because of the tariffs, but because oil is actually very cheap and will be cheap at least throughout October and November, I think the inflation can actually be kept at bay. We can stay around 3%, maybe like 3.2, 3.3, and that's overall very, very good for the market. And of course, we have the Supreme Court stuff with the tariffs coming up. That could be another big thing that's thrown in. If the Supreme Court declares Trump's tariffs illegal, I think that'll be a jolt down for the market at first, but then it'll come back up as people can get used to a normal without the tariffs. So realistically, like all this craziness right now, keeping the government shut down should actually make the Fed want to cut even more in the short term. But if this builds up, the government doesn't open, and there's an actual trade war after November 1st, it could definitely drag crypto downward. Now, this trade war isn't with the entire world. We're still in that trade war, but it's kind of been smaller. This trade war is only with China, but given how much trade that both countries do with each other, this is generally not going to be good with 100% tariffs, and it does not look like China and Xi Jinping are going to back down anytime soon. So hopefully this gets resolved in October or November, and we will be keeping close tabs on that meeting at this point. So that's kind of like the things that actually crypto has to grapple with. I know some of you are interested in the prospects of a crypto reserve. The US did just seize $15 billion. That will be added to the crypto reserve. It was from a pig butchering scam. I don't think the victims are getting their money back because they don't really know who the victims are. And it's actually been orchestrated over a number of years. So figuring out like how much money belongs to each individual person is going to be nearly impossible. So that's how the US is expanding its Bitcoin reserves. I don't expect them to spend a lot of money actually buying more Bitcoin at this time, especially with the government shut down. the whole bill that could possibly let us actually buy more Bitcoin from the reserves is being held up by the government shutdown. We're also not getting the crypto ETFs because of the government shutdown, because the SEC does need the government open to actually operate. And I don't think like crypto ETFs are really an emergency for us, but not for the rest of the world. So yeah, that's how the economic situation is right now. I think it should be okay throughout like early November. But then if like there's this trade war and the government does not open up back up for business, then things will get very, very bad and turn sour very, very quickly as more people panic, especially if prices go up with this trade war. Farmers lose even more of their market because farmers are kind of like dying right now, but they voted for this, so that's kind of their fault. Basically, like, farmers are going to be more worried, and people in general are going to be more worried if things don't open up and we keep on having this trade war. And of course, then the economy might go into a downward spiral. And if that happens, that's not good for crypto. But in the short term, once again, more rate cuts could actually mean good things. So that's what I have to say for right now. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.